I don't know, may even know me personally somehow, or from way back when know me. And they're like, oh yeah, but you still became an agnostic. Like, like that's terrible. Yeah, but look at where it's the whole thing of, well, yeah, but you left and you fell off the wagon. Well, number one, you haven't heard the rest of the story yet. Number two, like number one, it's okay to fall off the wagon. Did you know that? And I say this to you, message believer, and even to some of us who've been Christians for a while. Did you know that it's okay if you mess up?
Yeah.
Like, did you know that the Apostle Peter, who literally saw Moses and Elijah with Jesus when he was transfigured, like all these incredible things, and would walk past people and his shadow would heal them? Did you know that he almost made an extremely critical error and almost went into complete heresy himself? And yeah. Paul had to fix him straight. Paul says to his face, like, it's okay to mess up. It's all right. It's no different than stubbing your toe. It's okay to, in your Christian life, to slam the door on your hand. Like,
yeah,
it's all right. It's okay if I pour, I love Diet Pepsi and Diet Coke, and if I pour a Diet Pepsi and I spill some of it, it's all right.
Yeah. Back to the songs. There were some songs that did have some good theology. And one of my favorites, I can't remember the title of it, but started out, "We Have a Heavenly Father." And the theme was, there's a Heavenly Father who loves you and you're his child. It was a great song.
Yeah.
Haven't heard it in years, so I'm drawing a blank on it, but take that theme. So I have children. I'm a father. I have a son. Say that one of my sons were to suddenly disown me and say, I'm no longer part of you. I don't want to be part of you. In other words, I have now become an agnostic to the Collins family. I'm an atheist to the Collins family. Do you think me as a father am going to let this happen? I'm going to go after him. I'm going to try my darndest to convince him that I have a lot of faults. I admit it, but I want to be your father. I want to love you. I want this relationship. They sing these songs about this father that loves you, but the moment you question that father, the moment, like my son, the moment he questions his Collins nature, if this were to happen, this has not happened, you cut him off in these type of groups. And I'll be honest, that's not a problem that's limited to the message. We've tried several different churches after leaving. One we ended up is not like this, but I want to say two of the ones that we tried, they were that way. To the extent, I think the last sermon, the one that made me walk out of one church, was they were ridiculing the atheists and agnostics. And it struck home with me heavily because I was at a point in my life, even though I was still attending church, I was deconstructing. And I was wrestling with all of this, and here he is ridiculing these guys. Well, at this point, I know some atheists, and they're really good people. So I could not take it, and so I sympathize with you in a different way because I did this not in a message church, but I did this in a regular church. And if you're a preacher who's never dealt with any of this mind control stuff, I'm just going to be honest with you. Ridiculing the people who criticize you is not the Christian way.
No, it's not. I mean, there's I believe there's a biblical mandate for setting something straight. I believe there's a biblical mandate, for being separate from what is wrong. But it's just what Paul says in 1 Corinthians. If he never said the last part, then anyone who does some things like that could find some sort of a verse to justify them. But it's like we conveniently forget the last part of what he says. And he's like, no, like you pray for them and you try to bring them back in. Like, it's not like you open the door of the car and just, well, you're out. grab them by their hair and drop them. Like, it's a thing of, yeah, this isn't acceptable, and you have to understand this. This is, we honor God here, and you do it in such a way to where you almost, in a kind love. That's the whole part of it, is the love of Christ.
Yeah.
It's looking at the way Jesus did things. Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but that's one of the massive things that really led to where I am now, is seeing the way that Christ would handle. It's back around somewhere in the summertime at a local park where we live. There's like a little bandstand, and they'll have different genres of music play sometimes. And there was actually I guess a preacher or pastor that has like a Christian band, and he was singing a song about how that Jesus still washed the feet of Judas, even though he knew the entire time. And it still, man, that really struck me. I was just like, man, I don't know if I could do that. And that's how we handle even those we just, maybe they've even made themselves bitter enemies of us. But that's, as Christians, that's how we're supposed to be. And the way that is done in the message, I can remember looking back. And now I would say this was a fault of some of the ones. I can't necessarily say that I saw every single message pastor that I knew do it. But I did see one time when I was in church as a child where someone was taken out from under the protection or whatever. I remember that. I heard of another instance at a church. It wasn't an identical situation, but even then, I was uncomfortable with how that was done. Even though I didn't really even understand things, but I just thought to myself, like, man, that's really sad. Like, it just didn't seem right. And but yeah, it's incredibly, incredibly hurtful. To people. That is definitely, I would say, when you're not doing something the way Jesus and the apostles described to do it, you're literally like those prophets and the false prophets that Ezekiel, I think, and Isaiah writes about. Jeremiah, I know, writes about them. How they lead the people astray. They're really abusing the people, and false priests and things like that.